Judd, Zulgad, Jess Myers, thanks for coming to 1500ESPN.com. Speaking to you once again, one final time, Jess, from the XL Energy Center. Wild lose 2-1 to the Blackhawks in overtime, Game 6 of the series. Blackhawks win the series 4-2. We'll get to the fluky nature of the game-winning goal, which was very odd, but I will say this. I thought last Friday was fantastic hockey. The crowd was great. I thought tonight was way better.
You know, for anybody who criticizes soccer and says, you know, nobody ever scores, it's not interesting, man, tonight's hockey game, if you want to call this soccer on ice, was fantastic. Yeah. I mean, and you know, the NHL has argued for years that people don't want a lot of goals. You know, people say, we want more goals. We want, you know, nobody wants to see an 8-7 game. What people want is scoring chances, and they were aplenty tonight. It was interesting talking to Patrick Kane after this game because he said, true to form, you know, as we did all series, we meaning the Blackhawks, we didn't play that well in the second period, and Corey Crawford bailed us out, and, you know, he said, we think Corey Crawford's the best goalie in the NHL, and he's got a Stanley Cup ring to prove it, and, you know, is heading toward a chance at a second one. But, yeah, what a fantastic, especially that second period. Like I said, you know, Patrick Sharp gets a breakaway on one end, the puck comes right back, and Justin Fontaine gets a breakaway on the other end, you know, shots galore, chances galore. And interestingly, the contrast I saw, in the second period, the two teams combined for 22 shots on goal. Third period, the Blackhawks needed 12 minutes to get a shot. I mean, just the X's and O's and the way the
strategy
nature
changed.
Of the game. Yeah, it absolutely did.
So the game-winning goal comes this way. We are in overtime. It comes at 9:42 of overtime. Brent Seabrook, the defenseman for the Blackhawks, is at center ice. He crosses center. He's going to go to make a line change.
Yep.
As is often the case, the defenseman dumps it into the Wild zone. He just wants to ring it around the boards with a glass. It hits a stanchion behind Brizgalov. It bounces out. Suter and Regan, I believe, from the Blackhawks are coming down on the puck. They overskate the puck, and it ends up on the stick of Patrick Kane, which to me, Jess Myers, is the perfect storm. Number one, for it to go off the stanchion like that is odd in itself. In fact, Brizgalov, I think he said he had, even in practices, since he arrived here, in a trade from Edmonton, had not seen a puck come off the stanchion like that in this building. And second of all, if you could pick the one player on the face of the earth that you don't want to get that puck, it's Patrick Kane. I would say, 7 out of 10 guys in this league, in this highly skilled league, couldn't score that goal. Patrick Kane, though, can, and he takes it on the backhand, right? Lifts it up. Yep. Brizgalov didn't have a chance.
Shelves it. And one other thing I'll say just about the goofy nature of the bounce, the puck came out off the stanchion, and just in that perfect no man's land if you're a goalie. It's just a little too far for you to dive and try and cover. It's too close for you to, you know, really be comfortable and sink back into your net. It just the perfect storm for Chicago because it caught the goalie in no man's land. It lands on the stick of the perfect guy you want on it. And, you know, and Patrick Kane joked about this as well. But keep in mind, 2010, they win the Stanley Cup on an overtime goal scored by Patrick Kane.
And a fluky goal against the Flyers.
And a fluky goal on the Flyers
side
that nobody saw except Patrick Kane. You know, he's behind the net celebrating. Everybody else is looking around. They win the Cup on that goal. So he, you know, a bunch of the players in the Blackhawks room kind of joked that, hey, you know, if there's a guy who's going to end a playoff series, it's Patrick Kane in overtime, even if it's a fluky goal.
Wild players and coaches were, I would say the right word is despondent, and rightfully so. That being said, they win a first-round series in 7 games against Colorado. They come back from down 2-0 in that series. They then play Chicago in the second round. They go down 2-0 in Chicago. And I think we're all saying to ourselves, okay, you could have stolen Game 1. Game 2, they were outclassed, so we're thinking, okay, this is it. And then the Wild actually, I thought from Game 3 on, lots of times outplayed Chicago. It's funny, you know, first round last year, Jess, the Wild loses in 5 games to Chicago. They won 1 game here. And at no point in time did you feel the Wild was ever in that series. This series goes 6 games, so just 1 more game. But you talk about a world of difference in hockey teams. That Wild team last year and this Wild team, to me, have nothing in common.
Absolutely. And, you know, Mike Yo's comments after the game reflected that a little bit. And, you know, he was very down and, you know, was struggling for words. But one thing he said was, we had designs not just on winning this game. I mean, they fully expected to win this playoff series. You know, they went into Chicago in Game 5 with a chance to take a series lead. They didn't. You know, they lost 2-1, and, you know, that's got to be a story here, too. The fact that they scored 2 goals in the last 2 games of this series. That, you know, Chicago, for as much as they had struggled defensively in Games 3 and Game 4, Corey Crawford did what Corey Crawford does, but I just think it's a testament to these Wild players that nobody was saying, hey, we gave it a good run, we beat Chicago, we got to the second
They
round.
were despondent.
What a great step forward. They really
They were really upset.
were down. And it's going to take, a few days. I kind of half-heartedly joked about this, but I wonder how many days it will be before they announce that Ryan Suter is going to have some kind of surgery. I think it's pretty obvious that he was playing on a bad shoulder or a bad arm or something.
Let's see what he had tonight, shots-wise. What did Ryan have tonight? Ryan had 2 shots on goal. Is that correct? Nope. Wait, he's credited with no shots on goal tonight. Yep. And then I think he had 1 or 2 in the last game. Yeah, he played with either a separated or dislocated shoulder. So
and I'm not using that as an excuse.
No.
I mean, it's the playoffs. You play hurt. You play through some terrible things.
Tell me this. What if Chuck Fletcher has a wish list? If everything came together for him this offseason, the Wild GM, you go get a goaltender.
Yep.
You go get a big veteran defenseman. And I'm not talking Ryan Suter. You don't pay somebody that much again. But you get a big veteran defenseman, and you get a goal scorer. Vanek, somebody like that. But where's this team at as far as twofold? Where's this team at as far as its young players? Because Niederreiter, Coyle, Haula, who was magnificent in this playoffs, Fontaine, those guys came of age.
Eric Hall is looking like a pretty good 7th-round draft.
Oh, I know he is.
Think?
And those guys, to me, gained invaluable experience. When you drop the puck opening night next season, those guys aren't young players now. Okay. What's your opinion of where they're at, and also what's your opinion of where some of the veterans are at? Danny Heatley's not coming back.
No.
But Mikko Koivu either was playing hurt or looked really slow in this series. So my enthusiasm about the young kids is offset by the fact that some of the veteran guys didn't look great at times.
Get ready.
Koivu scared me the most.
Get ready for an interesting draft day, because Chuck Fletcher has shown, especially on draft day and leading up to the draft, and in those first few days after the NHL draft, he's a mover and a shaker. This team, parts of it will look very different. I mean, you talked about Vanek. He's the one that everybody's been talking about all year, who will probably come in. Look at it this way. You are going to essentially, I think, be trading Vanek for Heatley, which is a pretty good trade, especially, not knowing how long Vanek's going to go into the playoffs here for Montreal. But I think that's one. The young players, you mentioned him, but wow, what an impact these guys had. And, if you're like me, you were waiting for that hollow line to come out on the ice thinking, this is our chance to score. How often do you say that about a team's fourth line or third line?
A third line which scared. I think the third line easily scared the Blackhawks the most.
Yes.
And, okay, here's one step that the Wild made. Last year, Joel Quenneville said, the Blackhawks head coach, he said, if I stop Parise and Koivu, I'm happy. So he put Tays on that line.
Right.
This year, they did what you want, which was the Wild put Koivu on the Tays line. Now, but Koivu, what do you think the odds are that they at least explored trading Koivu?
I think the odds are very good. And I mean,
and that contract might be tough to trade, but
Fletcher has shown he's willing to do that in the past with the Brent Burns trade, a guy who was well known in this franchise, who everybody loved.
Because you got your captain in Parise, so that's seriously no big deal.
Absolutely. Parise is the captain in waiting for this team, and this is not a knock on Koivu's leadership. I think he took an incredible step forward as a team leader this season, but I think he stayed in neutral and maybe took a step backward in the playoffs as far as his on-ice leadership of this team.
Final thoughts, sir, before we're done? Because we've been going far too long.
Fun season. I mean, just, and a huge step forward in getting to the second round, in, showing that, you're a team in this Western Conference that people are going to have to reckon with. And I think we made a real rivalry in Colorado. Maybe not as much in Chicago. Seems like these teams...
Chicago doesn't want to play that style.
These teams had too much respect for each other.
Chicago doesn't want to play nasty. St. Louis forced Chicago to play nasty. Chicago doesn't want to play nasty. The Colorado rivalry is going to be fun, if nothing else, because it's all kids.
Absolutely.
The Wild kids hate the Colorado kids and vice versa. That's going to be fun.
Plus, the way the Vikings-Packers rivalry is. We love playing the Packers, and they could care less about playing us because Chicago is their rival. The Blackhawks already have a rival in St. Louis and some other
Real
teams.
Quick for
they
you.
Don't need another one.
Real quick, what are the odds that this could be the passing of the torch to... You've lost to Chicago now the past 2 years in the playoffs. We've seen this before. Next year could be the year that they meet again and the Wild wins that series.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's something we saw some things here that you said to yourself, the Wild was legit. This was not a fluke.
This is a program or a team on the upswing. The window is wide open. The window of opportunity. We've seen some teams in decline. Vancouver comes to mind most notably, where the window is closed. Chicago's not going away. St. Louis is not going away.
Right.
This is, Colorado is not going away. They're a young, talented team.
Right.
This is going to be a very tough division for many years.
All right, we're done. He's Jess Myers. I'm Judd Zulgad. Thanks for coming to 1500ESPN.com. Now I'm going to shut this off, and you're going to see me do it. I'm not going to edit it.